Once energy infrastructure becomes a target, we're no longer watching a limited conflict here, guys. We are watching, without a doubt, a war that has the ability to spread fast. We have now passed the danger point. We're in it for the long haul now.
Tonight, Israeli forces dropped bombs on Iran's oil refineries outside the capital. The U.S. and Israel together are averaging as many strike sorties per day as the entire coalition during the Gulf War. Part of the reason Israel is able to send so many jets 1,000 miles from their bases in Israel to Tehran, the same distance from New York to Minneapolis, by the way, is because the U.S. Air Force has 100 refueling planes in theater. That's twice the number used during Operation Midnight Hammer. And no country has been hit harder by Iran than this one where I'm standing, Joey. Over 40% of Iran's missiles and drones have been launched at the UAE. That's twice the number that have been launched at Israel. Recall, the UAE is a party to the Abraham Accords establishing diplomatic relations with Israel. That was signed during President Trump's first term. And tonight, a skyscraper here in Dubai was hit by falling debris after a drone was blasted out of the sky. Authorities say the debris also fell into a car, setting it on fire and killing the Pakistani driver inside. And this morning, a drone also managed to slip through Emirati air defense systems and hit the Dubai airport, shutting down operations for a short time. And just some movements to report. Joey, the Ford aircraft carrier strike group has departed the eastern Mediterranean, has transited the Suez Canal, and is now in the Red Sea. The Abraham Lincoln strike group remains in the Arabian Sea. And the USS George H.W. Bush strike group, an aircraft carrier the president visited a few months ago, she is getting ready to deploy from Norfolk very soon.
Real quick, Lucas, on that, is the anticipation that I believe it's the Ford strike group that's been out the longest, is the anticipation that one is replacing the other, or that all three will stay there in operation?
Could be, Joey. You're right. Ford has been at sea since June, and another month from now, of course, takes a long time to return home to Norfolk, where Ford is based. She could be looking at an 11-month deployment, so certainly that's a lot of tax on the crew and the aircraft carrier itself. Yeah, 11 months. How about that? And Bush could be replacing Ford, but with Ford in the Red Sea getting farther and farther away from Norfolk, so we could see three carrier operations for a short time before Ford heads home, Joey.
Everything is so coordinated between Israel and the United States of America that while either party is doing everything, they're already coordinated. If you do not think, we didn't know specifically that Israel was going to absolutely do this here, then you're pretty much crazy. Like, you're living underneath a rock here. Why do you think we're sending out another ship? Because everyone there knows exactly what it means when you start messing with energy infrastructure of a country while you're in a so-called limited conflict. Okay. Like, now there is no pulling back from this. You're now in it. You're in it now indefinitely. And I want to know how we're going to, again, sell this to the American public, because the escalation point from today on is going to be absolutely mammoth here.
I traveled across hundreds of kilometers of flat, deserted marshlands to tour one of the world's largest oil fields. Unexploded bombs from the Iran-Iraq War used to litter this area. Now, beneath this former battlefield, officials say, lies some 60 billion barrels of proven reserves. Now, this is a massive operation covering some 900 kilometers, about the distance between, say, Los Angeles and San Francisco. They have more than 300 wells already. Drilling on this rig in the West Qurun region is nearly complete, and crude will soon be ready to flow, adding to the global glut of cheap oil. It's not an easy job for workers. After years of sanctions, they struggle with the patchwork of old and rusty equipment. Limited access to Western technology has stunted production.
It's interesting how Iran has had to survive. This is a Chinese rig, but at the core, it's American technology, all that bit in yellow. But it was all purchased before the sanctions took hold.
China stepped into the void created by Western-led sanctions. In North Azerbaijan, the state oil company built these new facilities with its Chinese partner, CNPC.
This is the heart of the central processing facilities.
This Western-trained petroleum engineer shows off new equipment where the crude comes in before export to world markets.
This area.
It's a start, but Iran's deputy minister of petroleum says more investors are needed.
All of these need to be developed, and we need more than a few major companies to partner with and to develop these fields.
But it's fair, you need the Western technology, right?
Yes, that is correct.
While some European companies like Total of France and Italy's Eni had a presence in Iran, U.S. companies left after the revolution in 1979 and never came back. Whether major oil companies bite depends on how generous terms will be when Iran rolls out $185 billion worth of new projects at the end of November. An ambitious plan, but one which Iran is banking on to usher in a prosperous new chapter after years of sanctions have taken their toll. Growth has stalled this year, but the World Bank believes Iran could hit 6% growth with this increased production. Good for Iran, but the prospect of a flood of new supply poses a dilemma for a market flooded with oil.
China gets 80 to 90% of their oil from there. China is heavily involved in the country of Iran here. And seeing the pride that they basically take kind of within their oil fields, it tells me almost immediately here, this widens the retaliation menu. Let's just say this here, because I have now no idea. Okay. Like once you start strangling the country that you are for the most part at war with or in a limited conflict, I'm going to use the words that they're using, limited conflict, even though this can't be that anymore, right? But once you start doing that to a place like Iran with 90 million people, there's no way you can walk this back now. And in terms of the law of supply and demand here, if you start messing with the world's supply of oil, the prices of oil are going to shoot through the roof per barrel.
The Iran war has pushed the global oil market from fear to full disruption, with the Strait of Hormuz now under direct threat. Nearly 20 million barrels a day move through this narrow corridor, and more than 200 tankers are already stalled outside it. Brent crude has surged toward $82, and the countdown to 100 has begun.
I can imagine.
Asia takes the first hit because over 80% of Hormuz oil flows east toward energy-hungry giants like India and China. Every dollar rise in crude widens trade deficits, weakens currencies, and fuels inflation that lands directly on households. Gasoline futures are already spiking, turning a distant war into a kitchen table crisis. Beyond the price spike lies a deeper danger: logistics paralysis driven by fear and insurance collapse. War risk premiums in the Gulf have jumped sharply, and without coverage, tankers cannot legally sail, even if ports remain open. Aviation, shipping, and supply chains are now bracing for emergency fuel surcharges and disrupted trade routes. Europe enters this crisis with low gas storage and limited room for error, while emerging economies face a brutal stagflation trap. Higher energy costs threaten to reignite inflation just as central banks were trying to stabilize growth. What began as a regional military escalation is now morphing into a global economic squeeze.
This was definitely preemptive. And I understand that that is like a thing that Europe specifically does not want to back, the idea of a preemptive first strike from one of their NATO allies. I get that. You're not going to go ahead and back that because that by default violates the codes and laws that they basically set up kind of within each other. You're going to feel nothing but the repercussions in some of these places. And understand this here, not all of Europe is super rich, okay? I mean, they're richer compared to like other people specifically in their area, but they're not super rich, all of them. In certain countries where gas is already expensive, like Spain, for example, I can imagine how now people are not going to drive. Okay. And all of the products that you're getting shipped from one side of the country, and or the European Union are going to start shooting again through the roof here, guys. Things are going to get absolutely expensive. I get it. So without a doubt, guys, we're following this story here, but knowing now officially, as of right now, as of like 30 minutes ago here, that this is not going to be a limited strike. This is not going to be a limited conflict because it can't be any longer. The only way this ends would be the complete and utter annihilation of Iran. That's the only way this could probably end now, because now you may even actually turn people. All right. And what I mean by turning people, I mean the people who were super happy for the United States of America and Israel to basically come, you may turn some of them because now they're actually going to be feeling like financial strain even more than they basically were under the sanctions that basically pushed them out to protest. Okay, so now they're going to be feeling it even more. But again, there's always a calm before a storm, but we're going to definitely follow this geopolitical nightmare. Okay, we are in fact following it, but it definitely seems like something bigger than yesterday is happening tomorrow, if that makes any sense. But guys, listen, in the meantime, if you guys are new here, please like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys later.